Put your phones on silent and hope your windows are not open so that we don't screw up the recording even more than this. So, hello and welcome to Playstyle. This is a brand new podcast hosted by me, Ishan, and this is where we talk about games. I am a game designer and I have been making games played by billions for a long time now. And one thing which I miss is whenever we work on games, it's always about us game makers talking about games to other game makers and where are the players then in this conversation. So that's what gave me this idea, and that's why I thought that I should reach out to people who play games without really making them and let them know, like, or hear from them what basically they are feeling about games or what is their experience, because I believe that everyone is a gamer. Like, even for the people who say that I don't play games, they'll end up playing some game or the other, so they would have some experiences, love, hate, indifference, and that's what I would like to get to. So what I did was I just put out a story on my Instagram and reached out to friends. Hey, someone wants to talk to me. Why don't you talk to me? And one really cool person reached out first. So that's the first episode about. So I'll let him introduce himself, but before that, I would just like to point out that this is the best first episode I can expect, because this is a very interesting person who does very interesting things with games, but doesn't make them. So that being said, welcome Divesh, and I'll give the mic to you.
Hi, Ishan. Thank you for having me over. I think the idea of games kind of really excites me, even if I'm not making them. The whole idea of when I saw your post, I was really excited because games is one thing as a child till date. Every single day when I get up and if I get to know there's a new game in the market, I really want to get my hands onto it. So I thought, why not be the first person or at least be one of the initial people who'd like to respond to your message earlier. Well, so for being said that, my name is Devesh. I run a pretty cool company called Unmatched School. We only use games, but not like Ishan. We don't really make games, but yeah, we use those games. We are the end user. We help children use those games to actually play those games and understand how math is actually applied in them, and the way how each and every game can be tweaked to introduce various concepts of math. So being said, I'm a big fan of games. I spend most of my time in every airport, in every Hamleys, every big toy store in every city I go to, check out everything that's new in the market, and of course all the online spaces as well. So yes, here we are, and I'm super excited to have this chat with Ishan today.
Yes, thank you for that introduction. And like I said, he consumes games, but he uses it to teach kids about math. Like, it's a very interesting way to consume games. And this is like, I have been interested in what Devesh is doing for past 10 years. So we have been in contact for ages now, and we know each other for 20 years now, I guess. So that's cool. Uh,
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah,
yeah, actually, it's been 20, right? So
true, very true.
now let's get slowly to the point of this podcast. That we have already said games so many times till now. So I'll ask you one question, which is, you quickly answer. If I say games, what's the first word that comes into your head? Like,
Uno,
games and sorry.
Uno.
Oh, no. Ah, okay, nice. That's interesting. So, and I would just like to compile a collection of all these. What do people think about when they say like games? Yeah, okay, Uno is. I wasn't expecting that, so that's cool. And so, what would you say would be your favorite game memories? We can just go down the memory lane and say, where did you start, or do you remember anything from your childhood or whatever?
Well, if you asking about starting of games, of course, to be very, very honest. the first favorite game that I loved to play was Ludo, as every child in India does.
Nice. Yes.
We played Ludo, and to be very honest, I was in a position in my life for about a few months when we were moving between houses. We had no other source of entertainment except for playing those board games. So we were put in a position when we started really enjoying those games, and we used to spend a half day just playing Ludo because after school we had no television, we had no cable. There was this one duration for a few months, and we just played Ludo all throughout, and we became such big lovers of the game. But yes, moving apart from Ludo, the other game which I remember as a kid was Picnic. It was a board game back in the day. And it was like a Monopoly game, but not
Ah,
exactly a
yeah.
Monopoly game. It
Is it
used to
like
be like
those
going
business kind of games which were like the Monopoly rip-offs for India?
Yes, something like that. But again, picnic was more about, you have your mother, father, you have children on the car. You used to put that, put those,
Oh,
you
yeah,
should
yeah,
put a
yeah, right.
few,
Game of
and then used to
life
go
kind of
around,
thing. Yes.
something like that. And then we got introduced to Life and then Monopoly. So these board games actually got me to think that, wow, as a kid, and I'm traveling to different places. I'm actually going from one picnic spot to the other. And using of currency notes was really exciting for me. Look, dude, I'm a
See,
Sindhi, so I love currency. So that's something which goes into my blood. So yeah, I love
yeah,
using
you
that.
stereotyping yourself is allowed because I'll not say that. But
True,
that's cool
yeah.
because this like you get this feeling of you're living something, right? That's the experience that they build it. So that's nice, like cool. And is there something that you're currently playing? Like we can just switch from memory lanes to right now. What are you playing right
Oh
now?
yeah, I'm currently obsessed with Uno and Jenga. These two games, I've just been playing them day in and day out.
But do you play it like physically or on any digital medium?
So I use both of them, but I use Uno most of it on the offline space
Hmm.
because the new games that we've seen, the Uno Flip is pretty interesting, and the traditional Uno was really good. It kind of keeps us engaged, like say. You're talking about friends. You're talking about, with your better half. You want to do something which is exciting than the normal cliche thing. So, playing these small card games, and because we travel so much, these are the most travel friendly games. So it becomes a lot more easier to travel with them, and spend late nights, and have a whole night of these games. So it's just fun to play with them. And yeah, so like I said, sorry, I'm going a little off track, but
No, it's
Uno
perfect.
and Jenga are my current favorites that I love to play with.
Ah, interesting. And is there anything you consume more on the digital space? Like I'll not limit it to mobiles or anything or PC or anything, but is there anything?
Yeah, well, on the digital platform, I love playing chess. I love doing Sudoku,
Look at
and
this
I
brainy
love to
person.
play. No, no. It's just that I kind of keep myself occupied with that, and I love to play racing games. So anything to do with car racing, like Need for Speed and other different games, I keep looking for them, and I love playing them. So I think just the virtual driving experience kind of excites me.
Nice, interesting.
Most of them I use it on my mobile phone, to be very precise.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. And then, like, okay, you gave this very broad thing of from card games like Uno to chess, or maybe even driving games, Need for Speed. What do you think is something that makes you like these games? I mean, it's a very vague question as such, but like, if you think like, oh yeah, I'm thinking of playing Uno, why would you? Because you would just want to fight with someone, or is there a reason for that? So, do you
Well, I
know?
think I don't know. See, for Uno, it's actually fun because it keeps you engaged, especially when you're playing for those points. So you play a bunch of games over there. So it's kind of excited. But on the other side, there were a couple of other games which I forgot to mention, and I
Mhm.
think kind of fits into this bracket. Because, like I said initially, I work with a lot of kids who love to play games. They introduced me to a game called as Minecraft, and I kind
Okay.
of downloaded that game. I purchased it because they kept insisting on it, and we actually got into a room wherein we used to play these games together. And I found it really fascinating that I knew that something like this already existed,
Hmm.
but because of the need of the hour, I actually started playing it, and now I'm kind of amazed to see that how you can actually build something. Like initially, when we were kids, we only had access to Lego pieces or Lego lookalikes.
Yeah.
We didn't really have these kind of options because if you look at it, you can virtually build anything and everything, and the sky's the limit over there. So it kind of gives that excitement that okay, this I can't explain it maybe on words, but when you talk about kids, the way when they build a small, like a parking garage, okay, like there was this one kid who said, I want to build a parking garage for my bicycle.
Hmm.
We spent a whole hour doing that together, and we identified so many math concepts in it that's kept aside. But the child loved one thing was that he built it himself. Although it was virtually,
Yeah.
he felt that this space was owned. I mean, he owned that thing, because
Yeah.
it was his own creation.
Yeah, that's the sense of accomplishment or like the completion that you get. That's interesting, and that's what I was going to come to, because now you said you also work with children on playing while playing some other games. So like Minecraft is good example that you would like to play with children and get to learn from how they feel like. But yeah, that's really cool. So now, okay, you like few things. What are the things that
Mhm.
you dislike about it? Like not these games, but if you remember something like, oh, this game I would never play again because it was just bad.
Oh yeah, I think I'm not cut out. Maybe I'm not cut out for those violent games. Like I just don't
Uh-huh.
find it a point in going and shooting continuous people. I mean, although a lot of kids love it, and I'm sure it's exciting enough. But it just doesn't suit me. Like I don't see any. I don't enjoy doing it. Like I just don't enjoy having fun by kind of just shooting, and kind of doing stuff like that. So yeah, personal
Very
choice.
interesting, because knowing you and how much you are like while traveling on your phone and all, I was imagining that you would be the kind who would spend some time on the side playing some kind of shooter games. I don't know for what reason, but yeah, I was thinking like that. But it's good that you told me that.
I, in fact, downloaded so many of these games because kids use it, and I had to get my
Yeah, of
hands on
course.
in it. I tried getting my hands on it, and every single time I deleted the game. I was like, okay, this is just not me. I can't understand this game. I just don't see the purpose in it, and I should kind of get out of it.
But it's more about the genre than anything that the game does, or is it something like, oh, this is a game I might play, but when I try playing it, it is something I hated.
I think it's both a genre, to be very
Ah, okay.
honest. Maybe that's just a
Yeah, yeah,
personal
yeah.
call
That's
again.
that's perfectly fine, because that's why the genres are right. Like everyone plays different kind of games, and
Correct.
there are different people playing different games, and that's what happens for me now when I am making a game, or in a team we are thinking about a game. It's very easy, and this is the conversation I guess if anyone who makes games is listening to it would relate to, that we always talk about, oh, but as a player there would be something like this, oh, but like maybe our players think like this. The thing is, we have to talk about it, we have to think about it in our player perspective, but at the bottom line is we are not really those players. Like we have to build that, we have to act out in a way that how our players would feel. So a lot of our conversations are like that, but we really aren't those people. So that's why, and that's the way I came to this as well. Wait, like, yeah, who are these players? Like everyone's talking. There is a lot of like write-ups that go on, like blog posts. I have done some like personally and all that, but then it's always, yeah, I make games, I talk about making games, and I talk about making games for people who play games, but no one's talking to the people who play games.
True.
That's how
Yeah,
I
that's a
feel.
really cool
Yeah,
idea.
that's what I feel missing somewhere. So that's where this came from. I hope there is some more things, like some more resources where people talk to players, but I didn't find them easily, so I thought, why don't I create my own? But yeah, enough about myself. But yeah,
Oh, that's
this
a really
is
good thing, honestly.
just to continue on back to the point of your games and likes and dislikes. you pointed out like some things that you like, and especially the shooting games that you don't like. But do you think there is something that might interest you to try out a new thing that you have never tried? Say, for example, I
Um,
will tell you
mhm,
a shooting game. You don't like shooting game. You
mhm.
won't really try it. But do you think there is
Correct.
something that might make you try it?
Well, maybe if you say a mode wherein I'm just doing shooting practice, like
Hmm.
I'm shooting against dummies, or because nowadays I think something like archery or something on those lines.
Yeah.
Like maybe you could have firing options using they're using different guns and trying to shoot different. Say I don't know what's the right word to say, but you have those cutouts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I'm not getting the
Targets
right word,
basically.
but
Yeah.
something. Oh, yeah, exactly, the right target. So if you could maybe, have something on those lines, I think it would be interesting. I wouldn't mind, because that kind of makes me feel I'm playing a game and I'm enjoying it and I'm actually achieving something out of it. Like
Okay.
maybe a little bit of concentration. I'm not gonna. I don't want to stereotype a game that you need to learn something from it, but it has to be at least something which will make you feel satisfied. Like that, I
Yeah,
personally feel.
and that's fair enough because I would say for you as a audience of this game, you don't feel a significant amount of satisfaction by just mindlessly shooting, and of course you're teaching math to kids from games which are very mindless, so I can understand that. You will
No,
definitely
I.
find something. Oh, what is this? Why can't I do math about this? So.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's very interesting, and because it's always a challenge to also find people, like find new people for genres, right? So all the games that come out, they always try to uh, do something new to get more people on and all that. So yeah, that's cool. And yeah, what else? I am running out of things to talk about, I guess. You should tell me some experiences about what you learned from kids while teaching them math. Like, do they really like learning math from games? Because I wouldn't imagine so. Because I'm like, yeah, we make games for people to have fun. Like, we don't really want you to think about your studies and boring things when you're playing the game. Or at least when you're playing the game that is meant for casual fun. So,
Correct.
what do you think about it?
See, to be very honest, I completely agree with you. Like, when you're making games, you don't intend to put in anything which is you want the fun element. So that is why every child looks forward to a game from a game's perspective. Now, my experience has been that the minute you tell them that you're going to play your game the way you want to play, but suddenly, maybe say after 10 minutes of playing the game, I ask you that, hey, what do you think about this? Like, do you think we could have used this particular thing in Minecraft in a slightly different way, and we could have made a little more flattened base, or we could have covered more area just to accommodate more number of cycles that you wanted to park in your garage, for example.
Yeah,
So that's the time when a child, see, the way you position a game is meant to be like the game, like you said. The end user is coming to kind of not learn something always. You have a separate genre for simulation games, which is a separate ball game. So people come with the intention of learning something. But when you have the other games, which I have seen kids playing, they don't want to play it with the intention of learning, which I completely agree. But what I feel is that when children learn, I mean, when they are playing the game and they just see a little bit of realization that, hey, I think here there's a little bit of math involved. That's it. You should know when to pause and when to stop. Otherwise, if you keep on doing that throughout the whole game, then kids will obviously lose interest. So, my experience with games has been that it's always good to keep them, engaging,
yeah,
having them to explore and keep them well equipped that okay, I want to do something more, I want to go to the next level. All of these kind of excite me, and for
yeah,
every child also. And I also feel that yes, there's a huge chunk of people who actually enjoy playing battlefield kind of games or shooting games because they feel it's strategy building. It's nothing wrong in it,
yeah,
but at the same time, it's just that I personally did not like it, and I also feel that if you look at a lot of other genres of games, like let's say You talk about board games, you talk about the online games also, whatever you play. Like let's say when you're playing Ludo online,
Yeah.
it's just fun. It just gives you that sense of, like say for example, I remember playing darts. A lot of darts I play on my iPad.
Yeah.
So when you play the dart game on the iPad, it's just that, you know, you may not realize it, but subconsciously the game allows you to do a lot of subtraction and addition when you're playing that game.
Yes.
Like the
The
first time when
dart
you shoot,
scoring is like that. Yep.
yeah. So you kind of start thinking in that direction, and whether you like it or no, I mean, although I am a math enthusiast also, so it kind of adds value to it. But even if a child does not want to use math, he has no option but to decide where to it depending how much score he needs to get, or else he'll get busted. So that's another point which I personally feel.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that you brought it up because there are these games like which are way more complex in the nature, which in which you play over a longer time and you have to have complex strategy, which basically evolves to what do you think is like, is this better than the other one? Is this plus 10 better than other plus 5? So it's actually the math that you're doing in your head, even as any player. So it's very interesting that you also use this as part of your teaching process. And I hope there are many more happy kids and they don't hate you for bringing math to their fun game time, I guess.
So yeah, I mean, talking about, how games actually can be a stress reliever, and also at the same time, I feel that, these games actually can can bring back your inner child. People talk about, getting your inner child back and, thinking like a kid. That excitement of winning a game, or, the willingness to do something again. It's just very encouraging enough for me to go back and again to play a game again and to actually consume that thing, whether it's online, offline, whatever it is. It just kind of gives that feeling that, oh yes, I've done something, like I've kind of accomplished something. It kind of interests them. And talking about how kids really respond to getting math in their games, I cannot tell you that it's very surprising myself as well that these kids actually get very excited when they feel that, oh, what I'm doing in my textbooks is also a part of these games that I play. So that's not an alienated thing that is taught to me. It's still a part of my favorite game. So let's say I'll talk about a toddler who's very fond of toy guns.
Yeah.
So when he talks about, he brings on screen, he shows me a series of toy guns that he has. He's got so many darts in it, and then he has an aiming board, and then he sits down and he actually starts shooting. So one of the sessions he insisted that he wanted to learn math with it. So of course, with the virtual limitations we had, we told him you can start shooting on the aiming board, and we'll watch from you. Look from this side,
Yeah.
and we actually could do a very productive session because he was not someone who was very willing to do a session without it. So, you see a child really enjoys playing a game, and when he or she is playing that game, and if they want to learn, they'll be like, I don't mind learning rather than just doing it for the heck of it. So it's a perfect balance according to me. So, if you ask me, I think it just fits in perfectly well for all the kids.
Yeah, so the kids don't really hate you, or at least if they do, they don't tell you on your face.
Maybe, yeah, maybe that's the case.
Yeah, this is really good insight. This is very interesting, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about as well. Because I actually started off saying that, oh, how do you play or that, but I'm like, wait, this guy has bonus information because he plays with a lot more people and makes people play as part of their daily routine, which is studies. Like, oh, you have to study, go play this game. That's how I imagine your studies to be, and I would have loved to be in that class. So let us like take it closer to wrapping this, because otherwise we'll just keep talking about random stuff. Is there something that you would now recommend for other users to try out? Like, is there something new that you have found? Is there something that you like so much that you want? By something, I mean games. But
Yeah.
if you like so much that you want that more people should try it out, what do you think?
So I think I came across this really cool game called Among Us, and a few kids recommended that to me. And I felt it was really cool because, if I compare that with the offline version of the same game as kids, when we would, play some sort of a whispering game
Yeah,
or, a
right.
passing the message kind of a game. I remember in school we used to play that, and but now it's like, okay, we have a virtual group of friends, which is the best case scenario in today's time. And of course, not even if before COVID, all friends who are scattered in different continents want to catch up over a game. Those close, good school friends who know who's actually a funny kind of a guy or who can play such pranks. You actually go and play that game. It kind of relives you start thinking like a child. And I personally feel that playing that game was really interesting. Like, I kind of really fell in love with that game, and the way it was designed to have all your friends join a particular room. You go and do different tasks, and then you kind of try and have a chat. You have a group meeting. It just made you feel that I wish we could have had this when we were kids, and like, we would want to play with our school friends that, hey, after school gets over, let's go and play Among Us. So
Yeah,
that's something which I would definitely recommend, the people to go out and try it out for sure. I'm
yeah,
sure everyone
definitely.
does,
And
but
yeah,
that's a pretty cool game.
yeah, it was one of the most popular games of the last year, I guess, and it got super popular just because the uh, unprecedented times that we are in, with anything, any kind of content in this time isn't complete without calling unprecedented times at least once. So I just did the honors so that we have it on record. Yeah, that's a great recommendation, and everyone should try play Among Us. I remember we used to play with our colleagues, and it was fun times. So, yeah. So I think I am out of questions. I think we have recorded a lot, and I hope people listen to it. If not, both of us will listen to our own voices and give two more views to it, or sorry, two more listens to this podcast. So thank you so much for being the first guest and helping me with this setting up of the podcast, going through all the tech issues that we have. And that's all, I guess. Thanks, Divesh. And
Most
for
welcome. It was an honor,
others,
actually. I
sorry.
really would, I mean, really appreciate it. I really love the idea. So, yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah.
You're welcome. We should, I mean, talking about the topics that we had, one about how you play games and one about how you teach through games. I would definitely love to talk about the teaching part more. Maybe sometime. Let's see how it goes. For that, I need to have more motivation to talk about games with more people. And for that, what you need to do is go follow the Instagram page of this podcast. It's called playstyle.podcast. And I'm starting this up. This is the first episode. I hope there will be more episodes. And if there are more people listening and going, following, telling me that go make episodes, I would be happy to do more. So help me motivate myself by following my Instagram page or listening to this podcast wherever you're currently getting this podcast on. Like, it's on Spotify and it will be on more platforms soon, hopefully. So thank you, and okay, bye. I don't know how to close this, so we'll just say bye, bye, and then go around, and then I'll cue music, and bye, bye, Divish.
Bye. Bye.